Hello.
Hello, hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Oh, brilliant.
Excellent. So how is the Sunday morning there?
I'm sorry, your voice is a little muffled.
Just a minute. Yeah, can you hear across me?
Yes.
Much better? Okay, so how are you, Pallavi?
I'm good. It's going well. Been a pretty good weekend so far. How about you?
Yeah, all good, all good. Yeah, we just had the fantastic celebration yesterday in college, and we have another special tomorrow for Women's Day, and International Women's
Yeah,
Day.
yeah. I did see that the lineup looks pretty great.
Mm. So we have like a series of speakers who are going to be coming on board and addressing various issues per se. So again, we're going in with the line where we want to make sure that we have representation from most of them. All right, great. So good to see you, Pallavi. I think are you excited to do this?
Yeah.
All right, I think let's just run through it once. Can you try sharing your screen just to see that it works all right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Is this good?
Yeah, this is good. Yeah. All right. Excellent. Okay. Hmm. So yeah, we can. You could just try changing your slides, maybe. Perfect. Great. All right. Looks good. Looks good. I think we can just keep it there. And we had to schedule this a little later in the evening so that it would be too early for you there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
So we've put this from 6 o'clock in the evening to now it's 8 o'clock here. So it's about supper time. Now, mind, I think it's a bright Sunday morning as long as we're getting things across. So great to have you here, Pallavi. Great. All right. So let me just, I think we'll wait for a couple of minutes because we have the participants joining in.
Sure.
Yeah, I think we have a couple of postgraduates and then UGs as well. And I've also put this on YouTube Live, so people can always go back and watch this to go through the journey of Pallavi. Great. And yeah, some of your teachers would be here. Just kept it a little surprise, but then yeah, of course, when they're here. So that's about it. Okay, great. Okay, so I think let's just have a little bit of interaction here with participants. Let's see what they're up to, guys. Okay, Akshita. Yes, Akshita. Can we hear you, please? You can unmute yourself and please feel free to think. Okay, Vaishnavi is here. Hello, Vaishnavi.
Hi, Denzi, how are you?
Hello, hello. Hi, Vaishnavi. Yes, yeah. Can we see you, Vaishnavi? It's all right.
Yeah, just a second, please. Sorry.
Okay. Sushmita is always a very sincere postgraduate student. Hi, Sushmita.
Hi, sir. Good evening, sir.
Hello. Good evening. Good evening. Yes. Dr. Atre. Yes, I think if you can say hi to everybody here. And
Hi. Hello.
okay, hello. It's so good to connect across so many people, doing different things in different parts of the world. And for a change here, we have someone from all the way from New York here, who's taken our time and Pallavi will be heading it. Hi, Atre. Hi, Dr. Atre. I think feel free to just unmute yourself and say hi to everybody here.
Hello, sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect. Atre, are you from, I think you're a postgraduate, right?
Yes, sir. I'm postgraduate student from KLE Wiki Institute of Dental Science, Belgaum.
Okay, KLE Belgaum. Nice, man.
Yes,
Nice to
sir.
have you on board here. Okay, so you've been attending our sessions. I think I've been seeing that. Okay, a very disciplined student.
Yes, sir.
All right. So how are you finding it, man? How are you finding everything? How the
It sounds
sessions
good,
going?
sir. I like to attend your sessions, sir.
Okay, great. So what do you think we're going to be discussing in the next an hour or so? Why did you choose to hear from today's session? What do you think we're going to discuss?
Sir, I wanted to know how ma'am going abroad and doing in the Columbia University, how she managed to do that. So I wanted to know regarding that.
Okay, that's nice to know. All right. So we all curious to know the journey. Okay, great. All right. Yeah, Vaishnavi, I think we can see you now. Just a minute. Let me just put on the gallery view so that we can see everyone. Hi, Vaishnavi.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, great. Yeah. So, Pallavi, this is Vaishnavi, someone who would be featuring in one of our future sessions. It's good to have you, man.
Hi.
The only common thread between both of you all, I think, both are done your UG from Bangalore, right? One from Oxford and one from VS.
Sorry, what? VS, okay.
Yeah, she's from VS. All right.
Yeah.
So just a little bit about Vaishnavi. Dr. Vaishnavi is very passionate about what she does, and I don't really want to reveal too much, but she deals with a lot of interesting creating of cartoons, comic strips, and her creation is called Truth Comics. It's very interesting. So she uses them. Yes, Pallavi.
I'm interested. Definitely want to follow her on her social media pages now.
That'd be great. Thank you.
So for our participants, putting in a word, Dr. Vaishnavi is someone who tries to create awareness. She creates these little animated characters under the Insta handle Truth Comics. So please go check it out. Of course, we'll be having Vaishnavi formally introducing her to the whole PhD 101 learning group as well. So that's again someone who's tried things off the track, and that's the whole purpose, guys, of having interesting people related to dentistry and taking it forward in various ways. So great to have you, Vaishnavi. Thank you so much for joining with us.
Oh.
All right, I think so. We have some more participants coming in. Okay, Snehal, I think she just joined in. We have a special performance, and most of you would have seen the flyer which said, Dr. Snehal Umesh. So she would be doing a small music rendition, she's an amazing singer, and she happens to be one of my students, and I'm really proud of her for the work she does. So yes, Snehal, can you hear us? I think she's logged in. Okay. All right. Okay, so we'll be having Dr. Snehal perform for us a nice collection of mashup she'll be performing for us. So are we good to go, Pallavi?
Yes.
Okay, great, excellent. So yes, so just a little bit of background into how this happened. And, I must at the outset really thank Dr. Sushi ma'am, who's a faculty at BSDC, for putting me across to Pallavi and making this possible. And ma'am is expected to join us in a bit. So we'll be having ma'am as well, for the session. Now, the whole idea of PhD 101 Rendezvous series was very random, guys. I mean, it was something which we've started to know the path taken by most of our dental graduates, be it undergraduation or be it post-graduation, to see how they've actually connected to the essence of public health. So today we have with us someone who has discovered, in her own words, the community calling or the calling out for public health through a journey which involved her being a part of various activities right through her undergraduation, and also working with many organizations, to mention Sochara at the outset, and a lot of community field experiences which actually instilled that into her, which eventually made her apply for universities abroad and land up in one of the really eminent universities, the Mailman School of Public Health at Columbia, New York. So she's presently pursuing her MPH. So I think she's in a final semester, right? So, and presently she's on her spring break. All right.
Yeah.
So, and then we're having this planned out so that she could share some of her tips and her journey and how she got there. And this would really help a lot of the students to relate to the journey in a similar fashion, because many of them, especially the present situation for dentistry, what you come across, most of them don't really look up to it, and they're not really affirmative in what you need to do. Then guys, the way dentistry is practiced across the world, it's an amazing, beautiful branch and specialty with so much of work to be done. and questions like whether there is scope for it and all that. These are just going to pull you down. But let's look at the brightest side, and we all rise by pulling each other up. So we need to look and see and hear from people who've actually been there and done that, and who explore a new pathway for all of us. So having had said that, I'd like to formally introduce Dr. Pallavi Krishnamurthy to the panel today. And awesome to have you, Pallavi. I think you can start off your public health journey. Yes, over to you.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Dr. Denzi. And thank you all for joining today. It's so nice to see all of your faces. And yeah, I can start us off. My presentation is going to be really brief. I just want to like cram what I did in like, I don't know, the next 10 minutes so that I give more time to questions and like more interactive session. So starting off, I'm Pallavi Krishnamurthy, and right now I'm pursuing my master's in public health at Columbia University with a certificate in comparative effectiveness and outcomes research, which I will talk about more. So starting off, sorry. Yeah, so it seems like a really long time ago when I was back in undergraduation and trying to decide what I want to do with my life. And it was so obvious in the beginning of BDS that I would definitely choose a clinical branch for my MDS, and the path is set like most of the other students or my peers at that point. But slowly down the line, maybe around like the internship phase, was when I started looking at the scope of the subject as well as the work beyond the borders of our country. And the reason that I did that was mainly because I don't know, I didn't know what I wanted, and I wasn't entirely happy with what I had. And I wasn't entirely happy with the kind of work situation post-graduation, post-undergraduation. So I started looking outside. And I didn't get any clarity back then. And I was just like about to finish college, and I was like talking to many people. And luckily, I had good mentors at that point. And one of my early mentors was Dr. Sushi, who is also currently at VS Dental College in Dental Public Health Department. And I was straight up with her, and I told her, see, I want to do good, but I don't know how to go about doing it. I have no idea. I have no guidance. What do I do? And I knew I was very interested in the statistical part of public health, but the courses in India weren't very statistics heavy. So I didn't know what to do. And what she told me at that time sort of like helped me change trajectory, which was, hey, if you want to do epidemiology, which I didn't even know what it was completely at that point, or if you want to do epidemiology or just know what it is to be in the field, I'd suggest you go to Sochara. And it was a good advice. It was end of the internship phase, and I didn't take it immediately. Honestly, I was like 3 months without pay. I don't know, immediately after college, it's not, or 6 months. At that point, they had like even a 1-year program, which they called Community Health Learning Program, which is right now open if someone else is interested. But at that point, it was just too much for me to take off another year without being in the work field. And it wasn't an option, or I didn't think of it as a good option for me at that point. But I went back, I went into the world, and clinical dentistry is amazing. I have nothing against it, and it is beautiful in its own ways. But it wasn't completely for me. I was still not satisfied with coming back home after an entire day of work. And as much as I liked working on patients and the interaction and everything else, I still felt I wanted to do more. And then I just took a chance. I was like, you know what, I think I'm going to like explore. And I did have a lot of familial backup. My parents were very supportive, so it helped me get there. And at that point, Sochara wasn't having the 1-year program, which I was interested in, but they did accept me for a flexible internship, which was mainly like I get to tell them how long I want to stay. They had a minimum of 2 months, I think, but you can stay more than that. But they've completely changed it up right now if anyone's interested, and I'll talk about it more later. But that sort of gave me an entry point into community health, or what is actually community health, because until that point it was more about dental camps and like what we learned, indices and everything else, which was dental public health. But truly what I learned about community health was at Sochara. So I did a 3 months flexible internship at Sochara. And my mentor at Sochara was, again, this brilliant epidemiologist. Her name is Dr. Thelma Narayan. And I also got to meet a lot of other people on the team. And Sochara is a society which also comes under the non-profit umbrella in India. And it's sort of a segue between this gives me a segue to talk about non-profit and the profit side of health. And my entry point into Sochara was at a point where I didn't know anything about community health. What I thought about community health was like what I thought about like when I learned case studies or case history, and like what we learned about dental public health, what we learned in dental public health. And in Sochara, what the process that they took to study was more like a self-study session kind of a thing, where they throw you out in the field, you learn what you learn by just looking and observing, and you come back and you write a reflective narrative or you give reports. And this is how the NGO world works, on reports. And why is reports so important? Because that's where the funding comes in. So my thought process at this time was how do NGOs get funded? How does community health or programs get funded? And where do I fall in this space? This was all of my thinking at that point. And what kind of career can I pursue just being in this in the field kind of positions. And all of that aside, my journey at Sochara was very, very fulfilling. It was fruitful. I enjoyed it to the T. The main parts of it was my field experience at Mysore, which where there is a program called Rural Health Learning Programs. So these are different government programs which are contracted out, and the team at Sochara have trainers to go in and train health animators. So health animators, first line workers, these are the things that the structure or the framework of our health system, from the blocks and from the block level till like the state level. This gave me an understanding of what the underlying structure in India is, who are the key stakeholders, and what is their role, what is their priority in health, and what do I do? Where do I at every point in my journey, I sort of just kept asking, what is my role in this right now? So it sort of gave me an idea of whether I want to keep on continuing in that role or if I want to explore outside. And at this point, I was part of that Sochara training team, which, and of course I was an intern. So most of it was like already structured training, and they allowed me to take up a few parts of it and they guided me through it. And that was really good because you need to understand how to explain social determinants to frontline healthcare workers. And they do it in the most brilliant way. Like, for instance, they just like take them on a nature's walk and say like, what do you think are the barriers for an ambulance to come to your village? And all of the healthcare workers, that's the first frontline ASHA workers, or I didn't get to work with ASHA workers a lot, but I worked with health animators. And for anyone who doesn't know what an health animator is, because I didn't know it at that point, but I'm not sure, I'm not going to assume that your training hasn't covered that, and I'm not going to assume that it has either. So they are also frontline workers who are picked from villages or at block levels or several blocks together, and they are in charge of implementing one part of a program, of a community health program. It could be sanitation, it could be anti-malaria, it could be anything. So they are particularly trained for that. And who trains them? It's like NGOs like Sochara, who have like a training team who go out and train the health animators, ASHA workers, and everybody else. And so I got to be an intern in that team. So I'm just giving you a framework of what my role was at this point. So yeah, like getting back to the story of my experience at Mysore. So this was health animators, and we were down there training them about, at that time it was the Swachh Bharat mission, which was I'm not sure about, my memory is failing me right now, but they were given 10,000 rupees, and they were asked to build a toilet. So what kind of toilets do they build, or like how do they use that resources, who are using the resources? So it used to be like giving them a chart and saying that you have this problem, this problem in your village. How are you going to solve it? Helping them walk through that problem, talking to them and also at that point, I only knew Tamil, and my Kannada was subpar, but I got good at it. I got better at it, and which was yeah, and also it really helped me connect and understand where the people are coming from. What do they want? Because you can't go in. It helped me understand that you can't go in with a program or with a framed work without getting their feedback. And that is what community health is. You want to hear from them. And slowly, even my time at Tirupattur was a similar program, similar training where you go and train in the Panchayat Raj members and the village council members. All of them have different roles. I'm not going to go too deep into them, but depending on what role they have and what kind of niti they get, we sort of frame our training to help that. So at Tirupattur, my major realization was the caste system and how evident it is at the bottom line workers, how there's segregation, how there's discrimination, how health inequality rises at the community level, and how there's suppression of an entire class system. And it's very much there. There's no point of not talking about it. And Sochara was one such unique institution which helped me talk about it, which helped because everybody else around me were vocal, were from my peer interns were from Azim Premji University. So it was amazing to have them along my journey, and Shri Chitra. So having people from all of these different institutions in India that is working on community health helped me really gain a very solid foundation on what community health is and what kind of roles are out there for me. Post my time at Sochara, I came into contact with, I still wanted to do something which was dental public health related, but I didn't know how to connect it again. And what really helped me connect was my friend right now, but back then he was a research assistant who was also my mentor. And so he connected with me with Dr. Harikiran, who is a dental public health professor at the HOD at RV Dental College. And I sort of like took another turn. And this, I kind of covered this. So yeah, I'll get back to my experience at DJ Hali, which is again a long community health story, but let me like finish up my time with Dr. Harikiran. So basically Dr. Harikiran who is a dental public health profession, told me this. He said, you're not sure if you want to like completely leave clinical dentistry. You're not sure if you want to be completely in public health, because I was sort of like dangling in between. And he's like, why not do both and take a year and then decide what you want? Like, give it all you have and make that decision. And at that point of time, it seemed like a right decision for me. And I went ahead and I did that. And through him, I was able to make connections with global health experts. And I sort of like, it sort of gave me a wider range of an idea of what global health is, what health security is, what like at the national level. And with through the help of Dr. Harikiran and his researchers, I was able to understand policies, how are policies made, who is making these policies, who is responsible for implementing them in India, why do policies fail at the ground community level. And all of this had sort of like solidified what I already learned at Sochara. So it was like taking it a step further. So most of my work here was basically like scribing or rapporteuring meetings. It wasn't fancy at all. Like but that gave me such an insight towards things that I would have never thought about. Like one of my main, actually a couple of my main experiences here was one working with the Karnataka director of disability. So they had their meeting there, and it was a closed group meeting, but I was allowed to go to it just because as a rapporteur. They wanted a rapporteur. They knew me through the internal connections, and I was able to go to it. And I would have never been able to be privy to such information otherwise. And I was able to see how decisions were made at Karnataka level, at like the state level. Who are the people who are making the decision? How much power does NIMHANS have over like the state work, over the other state workers? And these were the kind of things that, and also like at the back of my head, I was always thinking, okay, what do I do? Like, what is my role over here? Other than at that point, I was a rapporteur, but that wasn't like, what I wanted to do, of course. So all of this thoughts kept brewing in my head, and something that helped me solidify my global health journey was my interactions with a postdoc at that time, who is now with WHO, who is Dr. Shrikant Kontredi. And his mentorship at that time, I had great mentors throughout my journey, and that is one common theme that you would see, which I am very grateful for. And anyways, getting back to my global health mentor, he sort of gave me an idea of what this is, and how, and it gave me it sort of helped me understand policies. And slowly I was kind of developing an idea of what do I want to do. Now I knew there were issues like at the community health level. I knew how policies were being made. I wanted to somehow bridge those two. And the thoughts that were running in my mind was basically, hey, we're always talking about resource constraints. There's not enough money to fund this program. The conversations were always getting back to that. Why isn't oral health programs integrated completely into the health system at like the community health level? Well, there's no funding. It's as simple as that. But how do we get funding? Who is deciding these funds? All of these questions led me to the policy side of things, and I wanted to sort of merge both. And I knew, and at that point I also started realizing it was very evident I had no research skills with respect to hard statistical skills and things like that, which is very important if you want to do your own research or if you want to take a certain direction. And other aspects of health that was very interesting to me was substance use. And this was mainly from my journey at DJ Halli. So DJ Halli is again an urban poor region in Bangalore, Shivaji Nagar, just like, behind this, yeah, I'm losing out on the geography. I'm really bad, but like let's skip that part. But when I was able to go to DJ Halli was through the Sochara program, and and they have connections with the community members at DJ Halli, and you would have like the talks usually were like there was Anganwadi visits, there were visits to so Baptist Hospital was the one who was also making like these connections at that time, who was responsible for the program. So this is again like the reason I'm like name dropping all of these institutions is not to say that I was able to work with them or I was associated with them, but it's to sort of like instill where the money and funding is coming from for these programs, because this is how the non-government organizations are structured, and it gave me an insight towards all of the workings, the external workings. Yeah, and anyways, with respect to community health, they had a lot of programs. So what did we go and do in an Anganwadi? Until then, it was astounding to me that till my BDS graduation, I hadn't even gone to an Anganwadi, and I was surprised. Like I was like, our system is failing us at some level, and I felt very strongly about that, and I still do. And what and our my my primary work was basically to go and understand how an Anganwadi works, understand how many people are there. It's usually a teacher and a helper. Sometimes you don't even have the helper and the teachers like doing all of these different things, and understand how resources are distributed from the state level till that Anganwadi level, and who goes to that Anganwadi, what kind of social disparities are around that region. So these are the things that I started like that I was made to think of and like give my opinion. So it was very different from my learning until VS, because VS it was more like we teach you this, you learn this, and you like give that. I mean, you again regurgitate that in an exam. But this was completely different. This was like, okay, you need to critically think about like how things work, and that was what I was interested in. That was like something that like kept me there and kept me motivated to stick with public health, and I am where I am today because of institutions like Sochara. And anyways, so at the community level, a few things that I learned was one, definite in DJ Hali, you can see the disparities between Hindu and Muslim. And but yes, we all know that that's very evident, but how does this, all of these issues or social determinants play in like, decision making? And that is something which is not resolved, of course, but it's an impetus to like, help me think about things like this. And like when I do get to leadership positions, I'm going to come back and address these issues at some point. So that was my whole reason of putting up my experience at DJ Hali. Another main reason about this was substance use, heavy marijuana use, heavy opioid use. People don't talk about this in public health a lot, but it is definitely, and heavy tobacco use. How are these connected? Yes, we know, we go to camps, we have our health promotion events and things like that, but how effective are they? What is a measure to like say, hey, this program is effective and this is the rates, and like so this is the kind of things that were running in my head. And also, yeah, people have thought about this is not like I'm thinking about this for the first time. This has been thought about by people who are already on the field, and it just gave me an idea. And also a reason why I'm very interested in substance use research is it stems from my experience at DJ Hali. Okay, so coming to my Masters of Public Health. So yeah, okay, so I got all of these experience, and simultaneously I was also working in a dental clinic as a regular dentist at this time also. So I gained all of these experience, I gained all of these insights, but what skills do I have? I didn't have any kind of hard skills that I could tell you, hey, I know how to like do this part of the research, I know how to do this. I just had like, ideas floating around, or like I wanted to work on a part of health, but I didn't know what to do. So it like by the end of all of this, it was very evident that my next step was masters in public health. But what am I going to use that masters for? What am I going to learn? And why I'm doing it is now obvious, because yeah, I have seen what it is. I know what kind of role I want to play. I want to merge the whole community health aspect to policy, and this is where I decided I'm going to get a master's in public health, mainly to help me understand, mainly to help me get hard skills, and also to help me bridge that gap. So what am I doing right now? So the hard skills that I learned is basically data analysis. How do you work with data? Data is everywhere. And when you go to community health level, you'll see, for example, at the Anganwadi, like you'll have a registry, and that's all they have. But how do you think of data from that level to data which you process and you use at the research level? The second thing is cost effective analysis. This is where my certificate in comparative effectiveness and outcomes research comes into play, because I was so motivated to sort of figure out evidence based research to inform decisions like resource allocation. Like, where do you allocate this resource when you have so many competing priorities in health programs? So a way to do that, and build predictive models. So if you would choose this program over the other program, what is the success rate? So putting a number in everything that I've said so far is what I am learning right now. And yeah, I can go deep into like the SAS or R, or all of these are softwares which will help me do the work. But again, it's like, it's a given. Anyone with an MPH in the US or anywhere else would like have these skills. But the reason that I chose to do all of this is because everything stems back from my community health experience. And with that, I will end. Hopefully I hadn't taken a lot of time, and we still have good enough time for like fruitful conversation.
All right, so that was very lucidly told, Pallavi. I think this must be, yeah, go on. Yeah, sip your morning coffee. You can actually look into this. But anyways, the striking thing, at least to me, when we listen to your journey, is how you've established a connection between your community learnings and what you are presently doing right now. Okay. Now, all of your community learnings come from experiences starting from Sochara, or foundational basis, of course, when you were in BS, followed it up by various specific activities, like you mentioned, the DJLE experience, and then working with, some, when getting privy to get into some of the policy meetings. And we really don't, know, looking at the dots, once we're going ahead, because it's only when we look back we can say that, okay, this happened, so, and all that. So how did you actually translate? I mean, this is one of the first questions I'd like to put forward to you. When did you actually realize that you want to translate community experiences and learnings into actually what you want to do for the rest of your life? Because selecting or taking up an MPH and Masters in Public Health pretty much determines and sort of seals your future in a certain direction. So how did this transition happen? I mean, was it you just woke up one day and you wanted to do this and make sense of what you've experienced, or is it slightly more than that?
It's definitely it's definitely more than that. I did not have an aha moment where I was like, aha, I have to do public health after this point. No, it was not like that. It was a slow transition. It was a confusing transition at so many phases, because I wasn't ready to let go of clinical sciences. I wasn't ready to let go of clinical dentistry. I made that decision only like 1.5 years ago, when I decided to take up MPH. And it was like I was dangling in between for about 2 years. I would not recommend that for anybody else. Like, if you are sure that this is what you want to do, go ahead and do it. But in my case, it was my experience. It was all of my experience which cumulatively helped me make my decision. and not just like one or two. And all of the experience that I just explained or described helped me sort of like, reflect on what it is that I want to do. Like, okay, I go to work, I come back. What makes me happy that the entire day that I spent at work is something that I wanted to do that day and something that is going to help somebody else and be fruitful. At the end of the day, all of us want to help, all of us want to do good, but how am I going to do that was always a question in my head. And that kind of helped me make the decision of pursuing public health.
Okay. Yeah. So I think it's been more than just aha moment, like as you mentioned. Uh, just another question to chip in before the rest of it. First of all, yeah, again, I'd like to welcome Sushi ma'am. She's just joined in a while ago. I mean, quite some time back. Hello, ma'am. Great to have you here. And Dr. Imran, all the way from Yenagoya University. Hello, Dr. Imran sir. Great to have you as well. We have a lot of educators who've checked in today and have taken time. And sorry guys, we'll be eating into your dinner time, but I think it can wait today. Okay, so Pallavi, this is another question which most of them, commonly come across. Community, working for community, or related to global health or dental public health specifically, like some of us are working towards oral health issues. What were your challenges which you came across? What is the most difficult? Because community in principle is a lot like achieving a socialistic principle, or maybe healthcare and education for all. But then, what exactly were the challenges you encountered at a very personal level, at a one-to-one basis, or putting things into work? You like to shed some light on that?
Yeah, I think the most obvious barrier or challenge that I came across, which I am sure that all of you have faced in some sense or the other, is the decisions that you want to make is like sort of impeded by someone else in a higher level or a higher position. So you won't be able to go ahead and do what you wanted to do because of externalities. And this was always a recurring theme. And whenever I speak to somebody else who is probably in the field and for a long time, they've sort of given up at some point and sort of just like, in a rut or in a routine doing the same thing over again and not really looking for change, because they're like, people up ahead, like people at the higher level wouldn't listen or wouldn't agree or wouldn't don't care, or various versions of that. But it's mainly like so it also helped me think about, okay, so what if I become a researcher at this institution? How much change can I bring about? What is the power that I actually have with the research that I'm because at the end of the day, getting publications, or that wasn't the goal anyways from the beginning. So it was more like, what is the impact? And it, like, the biggest barrier was like realizing that my impact isn't going to be a lot in the beginning, no matter where I start. It's a hard road. You keep hitting on the wall again and again and again until you break it down. And I remember my mentor, Dr. Thelma from Sochara, told me it would take 7, like I was in the beginning when I was telling her all my dreams and hopes for public health and community health, she was like, it would take 7 years, 7 lifetimes for you to do what you want to do, but don't give up. So I was like, yeah, I mean, and I came in, I think I just got used to the fact that, yeah, this is going to be hard, so what, I'm still going to do it. Or I'm sure all of you are in this field and in some form or the other, and you all have realized this. And I think that realization came to me very early, and also set my expectations at every level that I was at. The other personal thing was definitely the money and the finances that came from being in the field wasn't as rewarding as I would have liked it, but also made me think about what is the scope, like you said. And I had all of those thoughts too. It wasn't like I was doing everything without having grounded or without being grounded to reality. So yeah, so those were my two major
All right. So I think quickly, I think we can have questions from the audience here. So guys, for people who have chipped in a little late, Dr. Pallavi Krishnamurthy sharing her experiences from VS to Sochara and finally the way to Pallavi University. Yes, Dr. Vikrant, sir, please.
Yeah. Hi, Renzi. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Dr. Pallavi. This is Vikrant here from Delhi. Good evening, Dr. Sushi. And nice to see you all. I'm sorry I'm unable to switch on my video for reasons that Denzi knows. Yeah. So,
please go ahead.
Pallavi, I had this question to you. Like, you've done a great, it's been a great journey. I've been listening since the beginning, how you've transitioned from your BDS to where you are today. If given a chance, you want to go back and change something in your undergraduation, dental public health exposure. So what would you, and where all would you like to do the changes? Now you've moved ahead, you've seen everything now. Most of it, a lot of learning has gone through. So what do you think? Because see, I am a teacher, so I would like to bring that change maybe. So we have more Pallavis out here. So waiting to, don the same hat and move on in life. So let's give the other Pallavis also a chance. So what do you say, Pallavi, about it?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question, Vikrant. And I have thought about this multiple times. So I think the most practical thing that can be done is to allow students at like, I don't know, maybe final year is too hectic, but maybe in the internship phase, just to have field visits, or just if not, if that is too much to handle by a department, to connect, like in Bangalore, colleges can like connect to institutes like Sochara or public health institution, or there are so many actually, and get students to go on like field visits or just write reports. Like that's a basic thing. Like that was so difficult for me when I started at Sochara. I was like, write a report, what do I do? Like I don't know how to write, like I don't know, 1,000 words of anything, because we hadn't like been taught that way. We hadn't been taught to think differently and like write our opinions. I think that is a great exercise, and that is definitely doable. And also it gives them it gives the students a lot of insight on how things are happening. The second thing is to really integrate how the health system works. And the only way to integrate that into the students is like by doing and seeing, and like visits to Anganwadi or visits to like community health programs that are already taking place by some other institution, and just like getting in touch with that institution to be like, hey, can you have like a 1 or 2 day kind of a program for our students to just show them what you do. And that is interesting. And if you really want to take it to another level, because you'll always have some students who are interested, some students are not. Those who are interested can like sort of have some sort of a internship or a program, which is like, even if it's like a 3 or 4 week in their entire year. I'm not sure how practical that is, but that would make such a big difference. And I think off the top of my head, that's one main thing that I would have liked. I would have at least liked to visit an Anganwadi when I was in back in BDS, if not anything else. And also there's a whole other part of health, like Niti Aayog and all of these other institutions. Like I don't want to learn them in a book and learn the definition of Panchayat Raj members and things like that. That's not what I want. I want to see, I want to like talk to them. I want to like, figure out what their point of view is. And the only way to do that is to go down to the field and do it. Or I shouldn't be saying field, community, go to the community and do it. So yeah, that would be my biggest change that I really would like to see.
Yeah, thank you so much, Pallavi, I think, for that. Yes, Vikrant sir. I think you should start taking students, and we should start doing that right away. The more field experiences.
So Denzi, hi, hello there. Sorry to interrupt you
Yeah,
guys. Hi,
go on.
hi Denzi. My name is
Hello,
Nash. Hi,
yeah.
Pallavi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. So I work in clinical research. So part of my job is clinicals, and I do 2 days of research. So quick I have two questions for you, and I missed most of the lecture. I'm sorry, I joined in late. So my first question is, now you've been on both sides of the stick. So how do you, what are the main differences you'd like to highlight in research between research in India and research in a Western country, i.e. the United States? Question number two, so in India, I've been on both ends of the spectrum as well. So in India, you have a lot of data, amazing work that goes on, but unfortunately the regulation is not there. It's not formulated, it's not streamlined. So if I were to ask you how you would go about it, what would be your opinion on it?
Yeah, both of them are really loaded questions. The first one, research in India and research in the United States are completely different, because the main difference is the prioritizing of health. Definitely from a LMIC, the way that we prioritize health is completely different. And over here, the health, it's also that's a given, right? Like, it's really like you need to like do research which makes sense in like India, or do research which makes sense here. If you're talking about the methodological aspect of it and want to know the difference, I think researchers in India are as good as they are here, or I have no qualms with respect to the standards. I know very much that they are doing good. There are institutions that are doing good work. As respect to what they are doing, it really depends on, like, what the priorities of health are in India and in the US. One of the major difference that I see is how other than the obvious, is how for-profit health has influenced the research priorities in the US as opposed to India. And one of another con that I see in the side of India is epidemiologists aren't used in the sense that they're supposed to be used. You have a lot of people, if not epidemiologists, like allied researchers who are doing the same thing, but are we really using evidence-based practice in reality? I don't know. From what I've seen, some very, very, very small sector of institutions are doing that, but majority, if you go down to any block level in and ask who's making these decisions, it's not based on evidence. And as opposed to here, a community level, like right now I'm working with the New York State and on their opioid program, and even the most lowest level decision is made from some sort of evidence, which is like pitched by a research paper where they're saying, hey, researchers from, for instance, researchers from Columbia.
It's very objective, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very objective, but yeah. So this is what I've seen, and I can like write a whole paper on the differences, but like the stark difference that I've seen is mainly like the influence, what really influences these researchers to do these research, where is the funding coming from, all of these very obvious but very important aspects. For your second question, could you repeat the second question?
So there's a lot of data available in terms of patients and numbers, and a lot of work that goes on that's not regulated, not streamlined, or not put into paper. Or even if it's put into paper, it's very scattered and there's no structure to it. So if I asked you how would you go about doing it? How would you do it? Because you've seen both sides, and you've seen the data here, you've seen how it is presented and how it's streamlined there. So how would you bring that over here?
Oh yeah, one of the major untapped data sources in India is like the private hospitals. Like the numbers we don't know, or I don't know where the impetus for change is over there when it comes to. Again, this is a very loaded question, as in it has layers to it, because who is making this decision to use data at center level, it's different, at state level it's different. And although we do have a lot of data, we are having an issue of globalization in health, which is not, and it's more like globalization and commodification in health and moving to that direction in India. And I personally feel that's not the right direction, because this is completely subjective, but I do believe in uh, uh, a socialistic medicine rather than moving towards the completely commodification and capitalization of medicine. And that's important, because that's what is happening, and we're taking the direction. And since we're taking the direction, priorities are depending on not the stakeholders at the community level, but the stakeholders at different for-profit organizations. So what do they want? And that's why there's like this bottleneck with all of the data, because we have all the data. You're not going to be hard pressed to find data analysts in India. You have brilliant people there. There is no system in place, and to get the system, when you start thinking of who's making these decisions, it's very complex. Yeah, I would stop at that, because I would not be able to give you a more comprehensive answer. I mean, I would not be able to give you a comprehensive answer at all for that question.
Yeah, just adding in a bit. Yeah, Nash, just to add a little bit about how do we collect the data. Again, I totally second what Pallavi did say, that whatever data has been generated, I mean, there have been so many advances here now. Even your dental chair can connect a lot of data once the patient visits. All the algorithms which have been generated, they all been serving, I mean, more into a consumerist ideology here, because all that is used to sell more healthcare products, but not healthcare as such. So I think that's just a little bit I'd like to add in. Yes, Raj, please. Okay. So do we have?
Can I come in?
Yeah, please, Dr. Abraham, please.
Yeah, I think
we lost your voice, Imran sir. You can just reconnect. Yeah. Yeah, could you repeat?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now it's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yep. I just want to ask Pallavi one question, because what is the choice for Indian BDS students with regard to MPH? What's her advice now? Because I think many of my students also have gone in to take up the course, but what's her real advice? What she wants to tell, because it's in India, it means numbers. Now, what would be their job opportunities? I know Niti Aayog has come in big way, and a lot of job opportunities are still there. But what happens after 2 or 3 years? What's her take? Whether to take MPH in India or abroad? Probably a complex question.
Yeah, it's definitely a complex question. But with respect to scope, I really think there is going to be a lot of scope. And again, coming to that, when I was making this decision, I was in the right place at the right time, I guess, because RGUHS had had a meeting at St. John's, and with all of the ex-RGUHS members and everybody else. And the purpose of the meeting was to talk about the curriculum of MPH in India. And I was at that meeting just making notes for Sochara. And I got to hear all of their thoughts. And one of the major reasons that sort of like had me thinking about not taking up the course in India was because it was any kind of decision was made by doctors. And I know it seems at that point, like that was my thought. I was like, MPH is so one-sided. It's every decision is made by not a dentist, a physician who's done MBBS and done all of whatever after, but all of the chairs, all of the subcommittee members, everybody is a doctor. So where in the whole, and MPH is so broad. You have environmentalists, you have dentists, you have pharmacists. It is anything and everything under the sun. And I'm quoting Dr. Sushi. And that's that. And I didn't see that. It is moving towards that because there are institutions like Sri Chitra, which is amazing. And that was one of my, top choices if I was back home. But again, like, I already got the community exposure that I wanted through Sochara, and I wanted to see how, and I wanted to go to through higher level policy research, and I wanted to do resource allocation research and things like that, which was not. I didn't know who was doing all of this in India. Like now I can tell you, because after coming here, I know that it's in the for-profit section and not in the not-for-profit. That's why I wasn't exposed to it. But so I would say it really depends on what your goal is. Someone could have done exactly what I'm doing, BDS, MPH, and maybe even the same certificate that I'm doing, and taken it in a completely different direction than what I'm taking it. So it really depends on what your ultimate goal is. Where do you see yourself living, or at what level in the health system do you want to work?
Yeah. So that was Pallavi. Yeah. So yeah, Dr. Vaishnavi. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, ask your question.
Yeah. Hi, Pallavi. Really happy with what you've done with the internships in India, because now I have a couple of questions. The Sochara organization that you worked with, were they dealing with oral health alone, or was it general public health?
Yeah, this was another thing. I don't think I've come across with an organization that's dealing with oral health alone, unless it's the DCI, or I don't know, connected to them. I see their banners all the time, so that's an assumption. I might be completely wrong. Y'all are the experts in this. But no, Sochara was not one such organization. Sochara was definitely, they're more like, oh, okay, you can talk about oral health, and help me with a lot of, giving me a lot of exposure to tobacco and substance use. But with respect to focusing on oral health, they hadn't. But there was a researcher at Sochara, a research associate, I think. And so he was working on oral health for Adivasis in Gudlur, and at that time, and I learned a lot about community oral health, especially among the marginalized population, through him, through his research, by just observing. I didn't have any active part in that, but yeah, but I got an insight through him, and he was also the one who was guiding me with a lot of my. His name is Dr. Rajiv, and he guided me through my career at that point. So. And the one thing that I realized is no matter where you go, which health or public health organization, there's always going to be competing priorities with oral health, with something else, with another disease. We're always talking about tuberculosis and malaria 50 years ago now. And so it's, the point is that I don't believe we should be siloed. And it's good that right now, and I can see a change in trend where slowly they're integrating oral health with the rest of the health, or at least students who are doing dentistry are mixing with students who are doing urban planning. Because my peer was doing her MA in development at Azim Premji, and I would have never got that connection with somebody who's doing development and talking about so many other aspects of aspects which are related to public health and very indirectly related to oral health. So that's a good thing to not have a institution that's only based on oral health.
Yes. So what you worked on was both general health and oral health. Am I correct?
Yeah, I actually didn't do much related to oral health. It was very the closest that I came to working in working towards oral health was with the tobacco health promotion, and a lot of other health promotional events like as such, but with oral, and here and there was like some training for oral health, like, so this was a thing. So we used to go, the main reason of the training was like actually anti-tobacco, but we used to include oral health into the program,
Right.
because you had 2 dentists there working in that institution. So you see how you're like, integrating, like, the program is not oral for oral health, but you are integrating aspects of that program, and pushing oral health through the program. I think that's like a really good way to like introduce the public health aspect of oral health to
Yeah,
already.
Agreed. And another thing is that from your talk just now, I understood that your experience in writing reports at Sochara was what, let's say, influenced your interest in health economics and policy making. Now you are studying all those things. I see that. And again, like you said earlier, the decisions in India are made by the higher ups. Now, we don't have money, we don't have any funds for oral health programs in India. And the government only funds about 2% of the entire budget to healthcare. And now imagine how much of that 2% is dedicated to oral health. Now, this is just a hypothetical question. I'm not saying that you should come back and do it, but if you were to come back and from the knowledge that you've gained there, if you were to come back and maybe try to change something, because India does need public health programs, which I personally have not seen, maybe outreach programs, but that's it. It's just dental colleges doing small outreach programs, and a wide population still has no access to oral health. I mean, clinics or anything as such. So how would you change the government's decision into putting more money for dentistry or public health in general? Public health, I have seen a lot of organizations that focus on other aspects of public health, but I don't see it in oral health in particular. Now, I do understand what you said about integrating general health and oral health, but people are not aware that general health does affect oral health, and they don't have the motivation to take care of their oral health. So I think that personally, I think that if you can make programs focusing on oral health, maybe that could improve. So how would you change the government's thinking into funding oral health programs in India?
Well, that's yeah.
Go ahead. We try and answer.
I'm not gonna have an answer that you're gonna like, or that I think is gonna be like completely comprehensive. This is again a very loaded question, and something that all of us, I guess, are constantly thinking, where is the change gonna come from? And the only way that I don't think I'm gonna be personally coming back to work in the government. I would definitely, but if I would think that there would be a change where you want someone to say, hey, we have to talk about oral health, or we have to bring oral health into make programs that are just for oral health, it's going to be very difficult, because one, it's definitely going to be difficult, but it's also when you're practically thinking about the government, again, it depends on which level of government are you thinking of. Are you talking about the state government making such programs, or are you talking about, like, at the community level or block level? Because these things matter, because the fundings matter, like where are the fundings coming from matter for this. And I would say the best way to move towards the direction is to have more dental professions in government settings. And the present structure of the system is not very conducive for that. But if you are looking for impetus to change, I don't know the answer to that. I think that is yeah, I'm as hard pressed as you about so many issues that are there in our health system, and I can only give you hypotheticals again and not give you concrete like step by step plans to get there. I don't know. I don't think education has helped me get that kind of an understanding to answer that question.
Yeah,
I'm
just
only asking this because you've done
yeah.
internship here, and
Yeah, totally. I
yeah,
agree. Like, I think also like although I've done some of these things, there's a lot that I have to still do, and like there's so much that I still don't know, even within this system and how the system works. And I think this is one of my definitely don't have enough knowledge to like answer that question.
no worries. Thank you.
To start off with, I think having a conversation like this is a very good way, to take up the direction, getting more people, how many of us in the dental world, actually talk about dental public health, or the overall burden of disease, and all of that. And like how Vaishnavi just actually beautifully brought out that point. What is required is an upstream approach, which is right from top down, and the policy. Unfortunately, the national oral health policy, Sushi ma'am would know this as well, and many of us here, still remains a main question in an MDS public health paper. And I think that it is still, from 1995, remains as only a draft of the policy, not being implemented. There have been many strategic changes at multiple levels in the system, starting from the ministry and the state level, as well as the grassroots level, of how do we actually integrate oral health with the rest of the general health. And to begin with, I think this can be summarized well by saying that we need more dentists in working in public health, who would be trained with basic principles of public health, and that's how you should take this forward. All right. Quickly, if I could just take your permission, guys, and introduce Dr. Snehal to the panel here. She's someone who would be, who's made a very nice rendition for us today, just to break the monotony. Of course, we've been talking, about public health and everything, what Pallavi's been sharing for us. We'll continue the question answer session, guys. Hello, Snehal, can you hear us?
Hello, sir.
Okay, great. Dr. Snehal, guys, is someone who is presently preparing for her entrance examinations. She had this, a little bit of, what I should say, the quirkiness, or rather, someone who's always been into trying out new things, and now she's presently pursuing singing as well. So, guys, over to you, Snehal. I think, what do you have for us, just to give a little background about that?
Thank you, sir. I'm Dr. Snehal Umesh. I'm a BDS graduate from Bapuji Dental College and Hospital, Davangere. I'm here to sing a mashup, retro mashup for you guys.
Okay. All right, guys. So I think let's just sit back and enjoy the little bit of performance what Snehal has got for us, and we'll continue the Q&A session right after that. Yes, over to you, Snehal.
ये हंसी वादियाँ ये खुला आसमां आ गए हम कहाँ ऐ मेरे साजना इन बहारों में दिल की कली खिल गई मुझको तुम जो मिले हर खुशी मिल गई ये हंसी वादियाँ ये खुला आसमां आ गए हम कहाँ ऐ मेरे साजना साथिया ये तूने क्या किया बेलिया ये तूने क्या किया मैंने किया तेरा इंतजार इतना करो ना मुझे प्यार इतना करो ना मुझे प्यार तेरे बिना जिंदगी से कोई शिकवा तो नहीं शिकवा नहीं शिकवा नहीं शिकवा नहीं तेरे बिना जिंदगी भी लेकिन जिंदगी तो नहीं जिंदगी नहीं जिंदगी नहीं जिंदगी नहीं, तेरे बिना जिंदगी से कोई शिकवा तो नहीं, शिकवा नहीं, शिकवा नहीं, शिकवा नहीं। प्यार दीवाना होता है, मस्ताना होता है, हर खुशी से हर गम से बेगाना होता है। प्यार दीवाना होता है, मस्ताना होता है, हर खुशी से हर गम से बेगाना होता है। कुछ तो है तुझसे राबता, कुछ तो है तुझसे राबता, कैसे हम जाने हमें क्या पता, कुछ तो है तुझसे राबता। फिर ले आया दिल मजबूर क्या कीजिए, रास ना आया रहना दूर क्या कीजिए, दिल कह रहा हूँ उसे मुकम्मल कर भी आओ, वो जो अधूरी सी बात बाकी है, वो जो अधूरी सी याद बाकी है, वो जो अधूरी सी याद बाकी है। पहला नशा पहला खुमार, नया प्यार है नया इंतजार, कर लूँ मैं क्या अपना हाल, है दिले बेकरार, मेरे दिले बेकरार, तू ही बता। पहला नशा पहला खुमार, उसने बात की कुछ ऐसे ढंग से, सपने दे गया वो हजारों रंग के, रह जाऊं जैसे मैं हार के, और चूमे वो मुझे प्यार से। पहला नशा पहला खुमार, हमें तुमसे प्यार कितना ये हम नहीं जानते, मगर जी नहीं सकते तुम्हारे बिना। हमें तुमसे प्यार कितना ये हम नहीं जानते, मगर जी नहीं सकते तुम्हारे बिना। हमें तुमसे प्यार, क्या हुआ तेरा वादा, वो कसम वो इरादा, भूलेगा दिल जिस दिन तुम्हें, वो दिन जिंदगी का आखिरी दिन होगा। क्या हुआ तेरा वादा, हाँ सीखा मैंने जीना, जीना कैसे जीना, हाँ सीखा मैंने जीना मेरे हमदम, ना सीखा कभी जीना, जीना कैसे जीना, ना सीखा जीना तेरे बिना हमदम। लग जा गले के फिर ये हंसी रात हो न हो, शायद फिर इस जन्म में मुलाकात हो न हो। लग जा गले हमको मिली है आज ये घड़ियां नसीब से, जी भर के देख लीजिए हमको करीब से, फिर आपके नसीब में ये बात हो न हो।
All right. So that was very, very beautiful, Snehal. I think that actually lit up the whole evening for us. And thank you so much for that rendition of yours. Actually, you took us back, through the whole retro, from the old movie songs to the recent ones. So thank you so much, Snehal, for joining in today and adding a musical touch to this conversation that we've been having for today's PhD 101. Thank you so much. Yes, Pallavi, so how was that?
Yeah, that was amazing. And Snehal, I have to say, like, I don't think I could ever muster up the courage to sing in front of an audience, but you are able to do that. So that sets you apart from the rest of us, like, by yards away. So, yeah, that was amazing. That was beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yes, Sushi ma'am. Yes, finally.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Very nice to see you all on this platform again. Denzi is the person who can bring people together, and as he was telling, conversations are very important. I think that conversations are the starting point for many changes. That's what history teaches us, and that's how human population has evolved over the years, through conversations, through exchange and collaboration of ideas. And we grow and we learn like that. That's very true, Daisy, what you said. And Pallavi, very happy to see you again, and very happy to listen to you speak about your experiences. And I'm sure your journey would have inspired many of us here, not just the students, but I'm sure it would have inspired and the faculty who are involved in this particular field to think and to reflect on what we can do, what we are capable of doing, and all those things, because opportunities and threats both are part of life. So I think reflection is the one which makes way. And I think when you were answering the previous question, I was thinking it's too it's too unfair to put everything on Pallavi to say what change she can bring, because it's so complex, and especially our country has a very complex society. Social structure is so complex. We are very unique in the sense that we have caste system, which is entirely unique to Indian nation. So though we have ethnic discriminations and other religious inequalities in the rest of the globe, as we see here as well, but caste system is very unique to our society, and that has many issues. Even the gender inequalities, if you consider, even there the caste system again, the women especially have to bear through not just the discrimination of the caste, but not just the gender discrimination, but again it gets hierarchical discrimination in terms of caste, where you are in that caste hierarchy determines. So it's always a very layered and burdened discrimination which happens. It's not very straightforward, and as such, health itself is not a straightforward issue. For example, even poverty also, even today we look at poverty as a very individualistic, static concept. Even today, many of us think of it as a very static issue, but it's a very dynamic and very flowing. It has a very multidimensional structure to it, and poverty influences a person through so many aspects of the life. And unless we bring about, and health is not an isolated entity. If you want to bring a change in health of any society, all other aspects of society also need to evolve together. That's how health also can evolve together with it. The inclusion oral health concept, which was, I think the paper which was, the symposium was held on that concept of inclusion oral health sometime back, but it was focusing on, oral health inequalities, which are seen because of the discrimination which is happening in high income countries. But it's equally more relevant here in low income countries, low middle income countries like our country. So everywhere the socialistic approach to health itself is rooted in or reforms in so many other sectors of society. The political sector, the concepts which are there in the economy, all this socialistic approach should flow there to bring about some change. Otherwise, if we just promote socialistic approach to health only in the health field, we won't be able to achieve it, because the other ideologies which are influencing the policy, that is very, those, we won't let it happen that way. And what Pallavi was telling was so true. It all comes down to what you want to do in life, that you can take it even at an individual level as well as at a community or societal level as well. Ultimately, what is your intention? And what concepts are foundational to your intention? That gives us a lens to look at it. And each of us will have a lens through which we look at life based on our experiences, based on our own perceptions of life. And that is true at all levels, not just at individual level. So to bring change in something is a very complex thing. But as Denzi pointed out again, all complex challenges in the human evolution has always started with one particular idea, and how that was conversed between groups of people, and how conversation built and propagated further to bring some changes. So we can all, even though we live in a hierarchical system here, working here is, I know it is difficult, but we do have individual scope, however limited it might be. Maybe we'll be able to do something through it, and that can later have a ripple effect everywhere. And that's the hope for humanity. So we can all just stick to that hope and always can keep working on it, and see, let's see oral health, how we will be able to bring focus on oral health. People like Pallavi, who goes out of the boundary of the Indian education system, are at an advantage because they know both sides. And Pallavi, I know that after some more years of experience in the field, you will gain much more understanding of your power, or your scope of how you can bring about the change. That I'm sure in another 5 years, or maybe at least in another 5 years, you'll be even at a better stage to know what you can do further, and what you individually can do further. I mean, it's, of course, it has to go to next level. It can't be at one individual level, but each individual has a role to play, and I hope Pallavi can work towards it. And her intention, I'm very happy, because she wants to help people, and she has an approach which is so idealistic and very appreciable. I think everyone, I know Imran raised a very good question. He said, we know that's the reality, and we can't blame them for just wanting to have some materialistic goals. But ultimately, it all comes down to, your satisfaction, not just happiness, satisfaction. And I think Pallavi really has figured that out at an early age. And that is advantageous to us, because that will help everybody else. So we need more people like that, more inspiration and motivation from each other. And Dr. Vikrant Mohanty, who is doing such wonderful work within his capacity. I was so happy to see him reflecting and asking you a question, what he, you can bring it positive. This is how conversations are so important. And I'm happy Denzi is doing that. And I'm happy to be part of it. And I'm so happy to see you, Pallavi, to go through all these stages.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Okay. Thank you for sharing your thoughts, ma'am. Really supportive, and thank you for making this happen, because like I mentioned right at the outset, if Sushi ma'am hadn't connected across, we wouldn't be having Pallavi share her experiences today. So thank you so much, ma'am. Yes, Dr. Vikrant, please go ahead.
Thanks, Denzi, once again. Thank you, Dr. Sushi, for the appreciations. And I think It's very mutual. Denzi, Dr. Sushi, and many of us who all have shared, similar, I would say, ideologies of improvement in oral health. Actually, we need to, keep meeting and discussing issues so that we can take it further. But yes, I would like to just bring a few things in front to all of, all of us who are here. That see, I have been running a program for the last 7 years now, and it's a government funded program. Even after doing so well, yeah, surely we have missed out a lot of things, but we have done a lot of things also when it comes to integration into general health system. But still, even after 7 years of working with ASHA workers, with school program, with the school health scheme, with special care, with tobacco cessation, and as well as general dental services at the community level, we still are searching for answers, and we still, are not able to point out that these are the things that one could be the possible reasons, and these could be the possible solutions. Because every time when we think of a solution, the system is so dynamic that things change. So one thing which we have to always keep in our minds is, one, yes, evidence has to be translated. In India, the problem, I think, is of many. There are a lot of evidences generated, but there is no, streamlining of this information to collectively give us one direction, which is very much lacking. Even if it is the highest scientific body in our country, even ICMR, they still don't recognize us as a dental body where we can contribute. And there are no set guidelines for certain things. That only during COVID that ICMR was very structured when it came out with all possible guidelines, because the problem was also equally a big issue. So but they never looked at other problems. Like dental problem was also has been a long pending issue, but has never been looked like that. So what I'm trying to say here is, one, system being dynamic, we have to, all of us have to be upbeat to understand system changes. Number two, have to work, after 7 years also. Today, if you tell me, go to the Delhi health minister and tell him that you want to do this, he will still think twice. Even though the program has been successful, even the outreach has been 2 lakh plus, still there will be a question of doubt in, acha, what would be the money that you would require, and then they would look into all those aspects. So what I'm trying to tell here is, in a dynamic system, repeated reinforcements, as well as someone to be there. And I would like to inform all of you that the dental directorate is already into place. Denzi, you can always keep this information handy. There are two doctors from the central government, from RML, as well as from Lady Harding, who have been appointed as consultants in the dental directorate. One looking into all the national oral health uh, program has already been looked into, but the program implementation part is being looked into by this consultant from the RML hospital, as well as dental education component from the ministry is being looked out from by the consultant from Lady Harding Institute. So they are like, already people are getting in place. We are in touch with them. Next week we have a meeting to discuss how we're going to implement, because the NOHP has come into existence. NOHP funding is there. People are being provided services, but still there's a huge gap that is there. So we have to, the data which I think she Pallavi spoke about is very important. We really need to work on that. After working also so many years, we don't have authentic information which would actually turn the needle towards a particular direction. So that is what we need. One is a being abreast with the dynamic system. Two, having being in touch with constantly with the system that you're working, that is the political system or the administrative system. Three is to work towards a unified body which actually is able to translate information across the country and provide direction for everyone working together. And four is obviously funding, which is the most important thing. And even every year we struggle with we submit our budget and still hope and pray that our budget doesn't get cut. So this has been a battle which has been there for 7 years. I, just offhand, off the record, I'll just tell you that almost it must be more than 10 crores that we have already spent on this project. So I am very sure that this would be one of the most costliest dental public health project, which still people don't know about. You know about it because you know me, I know you, but then I'm telling you, still people don't know about this particular program that we have done 7 years, whether it is Sochara, whether it is PHFI. They just know bits and parts of it, but they still don't know about what this program has done. So that's the problem again there. We don't we are not into, we are supposed to go do that link. That unified approach is still lacking. So I think somewhere we need to do that. Everybody comes together. If you really want to solve a problem, we started talking about it. There's already a lot of noise about it, but it has to come together. So these are my few remarks, Denzi, for such an amazing session. Actually, Pallavi has, early in her career has touched upon so much. I would say it's not only passion. It's not only work ethics. It's not about knowledge. It's about also the emotion that we all are linked together. That every day we get up and start doing the same thing. So it's more of a emotion, and it's more than passion driven, I would feel, because it's so difficult. 15 years still doing the same thing, and we still need to continue doing it, is something. It has a higher, I would say, higher calling for all of us to stay there, and we still have to work a long way before we actually rest. Thank you, Renzi.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. It's really commendable. You shared your experiences of working. Dr. Vikrant is someone who's been in a strategic position and continues to swim against the stream. And like you mentioned, so I think we need a lot of more visibility in this regard. That we need to create more noise and reach more chambers. And then things would happen one at a time. And today we did have a conversation, and I'm really glad that this opened up. The best part is every session, I really don't know what lies ahead. And I like it to be that way. And when we curate this, I think that's the way to go ahead. And thank you so much, Vikrant sir, for those sharing your thoughts as well. And
Yeah, I would like to wish Pallavi all the best for her future ahead. And anytime she's in Delhi, she's most welcome to visit our institute, Maulana Azad Institute of Dental Sciences. You're always welcome. I'll be there to welcome you, Pallavi.
Thank you so much.
So there you go, Pallavi. I think don't miss out on the amazing food when you are in Delhi sometime soon, right? Dr. Vikrant shall take you around and show us more of that. Okay, so thank you so much for joining in, guys. I think it's 9:30 p.m. here. I think we way past supper time. Closing remarks. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Krishnapriya, who's here. Right from the beginning. Dr. Priya, would you like to say anything to share your thoughts on that? Okay. All right. So I think, yes, Dr. Priya.
Hello, Pallavi. Happy to see a public and health enthusiast like you with loads of energy. Actually, the experiences which you have shared, these are all my thoughts when I was doing my post graduation also. But we didn't could find a way out, because basically there was always this. What to say, narrowing on the thought that we are dental health professionals, so we have to stick on to the dental health background only. So that question was there in my mind when this particular, what to say, when your discussion was going on. Can you actually could see any scope for the dental health professionals also in the public health wide background in your journey?
Oh yes, definitely. There is a lot of scope, and from what I've seen, all of these institutions welcome dentists who come with a different perspective than the regular students that they've constantly seen, who typically would do MBBS and then continue. But now it's like completely opening up, and there is a lot of scope, and you can take it in any direction and still have a very still be associated very deeply and deeply rooted into oral health research or oral health programs. So yeah, there is a lot of scope for it.
Yes. So I think Pallavi did mention about a lot of opportunities, and in one of our conversations, she had also mentioned that how she is looking forward to collaborate with the dental public health experts as well in her curriculum and in her circle as well. So yes, there is a lot ahead, and let's just hope for the best. All right, so I think that brings us to the end of the session today for PhD 101 Rendezvous series. Thank you so much, all the participants who waited in. And it's so good to have different people from different specialties coming in together and listening and hearing this. And thank you so much, Pallavi, for taking out time during your spring break, right? And doing this for us. Thank you, Sushi ma'am, for being a part of Pallavi's journey, right from the beginning, from her college days in BS to what she is. I think you take immense pride in what she has achieved, and you continue to
It's all her achievement. My role is very limited, very limited role.
That's really humble of you, ma'am. I think so. With that, I think I thank all the participants today who joined in, for the session. A special note of thanks to Dr. Snehal for that beautiful rendition which she performed for all of us right away in the session. So yes, Pallavi, any closing thoughts on this before we wind up?
Well, a huge thank you to you, Dr. Denzi, for making this happen. I completely am inspired by what you're trying to do and the change you're trying to bring about for dental public health in India. And of course, Dr. Sushi, without even having to say that, you've been like a beacon of hope and light in my life, at least. And I'm sure like all of your other students are having have the same opportunity to have you as a guide and mentor. And I hope, and I'm definitely sure that like there would be more students taking this path going forward. And I'm hopeful for that. I'm hopeful for dental public health and public health in India.
All right. Thank you so much, Pallavi. Thank you, Sushi ma'am, as well. Thank you, Dr. Priya, for presence. And we'll see you all very soon. Next Sunday, we have another session coming up with PhD 101. We have many interesting people on this panel. We started out by interviewing a gold medalist who happens to be from BS as well, Dr. Arya, and a very good friend of Pallavi. And they were batchmates in BS, right? So, and then we had one of our interns from a college from Bangalore, and she was giving her point of view on what are the perspectives and what she thinks has to be done in this regard. So we are trying to get in the student voices as well. And then, of course, we have Pallavi today with her experiences and chalking them out for many people who could relate in this direction. Coming up in the following weeks, we'll be having people sharing the community experiences and how they transcend barriers. And then we have a couple of public health dentists who'll be doing amazing work like creating a completely app-based learning, which is called DenSync, which will be coming up in the weeks to follow. And of course, we're trying to connect with as many people. And like I just like to put this towards as a closing comment. If the conversation gets us started, I think it's always a small bunch of people in some corner of the world who get things going and bring about conversations. And like I say, we can always connect the dots looking backwards. Right now, I think we just need to take a leap of faith and continue working to the best of our abilities. So thank you so much, Pallavi. Thank you, Sushi ma'am. Goodbye and good night. And Pallavi, have a great Sunday ahead. I think we shall see you very soon. And thank you for doing this. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.